The Note Edge started the screen revolution that extends to one side of the bezel. Now, Samsung has released its very first dual-edge screen, the S6 Edge. This entails a new look, a new feel, and a new experience with a smartphone. Hello again guys, I'm Kim. Join me in today's episode wherein we explore the latest version of the Look SDK responsible for the Edge features. First, we have to know what we're dealing with. Basically, the Edge is for notifying the users while the display is turned off. This saves on battery life and provides ease of access to information without unlocking your phone. Here's a cool part. I've set up some of my contacts to the People Edge feature. So every time they call me and my phone is face down, it does this. Let me just get this. Now I have a missed call. I can dismiss that over here. Another nice to have feature is the night clock. You can set the time that the night clock is active with a maximum of 12 hours. Now let's swipe it back and forth. Here it gives you the time, important notifications, and under info you might want it to display. Now that we've seen the nifty stuff, let's play around with it. The Look SDK used to be available for devices that have an S Pen, but now the list includes devices that have an Edge screen. For this, we have two styles, the Extra and Overlaid Edge screen styles. The Extra Edge screen style pertains to devices with a main screen that functions differently from the Edge screen. This supports two modes, namely Edge Single and Edge Immersive modes. Edge Single mode is basically a standalone view on the Edge screen. Edge Immersive mode, on the other hand, is when the main activity uses the Edge screen as a sub-window. As for the Overlaid Edge screen style, like the Galaxy S6 Edge, it's just like a normal device that has the main screen extending to the side, and it only supports the Edge Feeds mode. The Edge Feeds mode is a kind of Edge Single mode that presents simpler information. Let's see how we can implement this in our applications. Here, we initialized S-Look and classify which feature is enabled. Since the Galaxy S6 Edge doesn't have an extra Edge screen, we can only use the Cocktail Panel feature. To be able to add the Edge Single mode or Edge Feeds mode, the receiver and metadata for the Cocktail provider must be added in the Android manifest file. First of three elements for this feature is the receiver element. This requires an Android name attribute to specify the S-Look cocktail provider to be used. Second is the intent filter element, which requires an action element with an Android name attribute to specify that the S-Look cocktail provider accepts the action cocktail update broadcast. Lastly, we have the metadata element that specifies cocktail provider info resource and requires the Android name to specify the metadata name and Android resource to specify the resource location. As for the Android name, use com.samsung.android.cocktail.provider to identify the data as the cocktail provider info descriptor. Now let's jump to the cocktail provider info we kept mentioning a while ago. This simply defines the essential qualities of the two modes. This includes the label, description, preview image for enabling or disabling the mode in the Edge screen setting, update period millis that defines the frequency of requesting an update, permit visibility change that calls the onVisibility changed method if set to true, configure that defines the configuration activity, and the category that defines the category of the Edge Feeds mode. The aforementioned attributes comprises a single cocktail provider element in an XML resource which serves as a cocktail provider info object. Keep in mind to save it in the project's res/xml folder. To handle the Edge broadcast, we have a class that extends broadcast receiver. This comprises of 5 main methods. First, we have the onUpdate method that is called when the user adds the Edge Single mode or Edge Feeds mode. This performs necessary setup such as defining event handlers for views and starting a temporary service. Next is the onEnabled method. This is for enabling the mode for the first time in case you need to open a new database or perform other setup. On the opposite end, there's the onDisabled method. When the mode is deleted from the enabled list, this is where cleanup should be done. For every broadcast, the onReceive method is called. Not only that, it is also called before each of the aforementioned methods. Last is the onVisibilityChanged method. This takes into account the value cocktail visibility show. At this point, you can refresh the Edge single mode or Edge feeds mode by calling the update cocktail with a new remote views. If you want the callback method called, you have to define permit visibility change to true in the cocktail provider info. Setting up how the feeds would look like initially must be defined in an XML saved in the project's res/layout directory. If you're familiar with layouts, it's pretty easy, but be aware that these are based on remote views, which doesn't support all kinds of layout or view widget. A remote views object can support the frame layout, linear layout, relative layout, grid layout, button, image view, progress bar, text view, view flipper, and list view. Now that we have the Edge feeds mode set up, let's install this sample app into our device. Again, this doesn't have an extra Edge screen, so we won't see anything in the main screen. But let's take a look on the Edge screen settings. Tap on this to enable the feeds. Now let me just turn off this display. Swiping here back and forth. And there we have our Edge feed. Here are a few things to remember when you opt to use the Edge features. Take caution in sending information to be displayed. Since this panel is visible when the phone is locked, make sure that the user's privacy is not breached. When specifying the value for update period millis in the cocktail provider info metadata, it is not suggested to update it frequently, not more than once an hour, to conserve the battery. Also, the actual update is not guaranteed to occur exactly on time with a defined value. You can also allow the user to adjust the frequency in a configuration. Getting your Edge application in the seller's office under a single content ID, only the same mode of Edge binaries can be registered. Adding on to that, general and Edge binaries cannot be registered at the same time. And for your registered general binaries, Edge function cannot be added to them. The Galaxy Note Edge and the Galaxy S6 Edge both have the curved display, and Cocktail Panel is enabled as they support the Edge service. But the Cocktail bar is only enabled to the Note Edge since it has an extra screen. To distinguish between them, you may use the Is feature-enabled API of SLook. That's it for the Look SDK with new features for the Edge. If you have any inquiries, please post your questions on the official forum at developer.samsung.com. Also, don't forget to give a thumbs up on this video and subscribe to the Samsung Developers channel. Thanks for watching.